Hi. Hi, Aviv. Hi, Anushka. So I'm recording this conversation before our conversation tonight. And this is kind of a conversation starter. Um, and I wanted to talk about the concept of collected DNA and collected memories within all of us, and kind of open up with that and see what you guys think. And in order to hear your opinions, I figured maybe I'd pre-record because I have so many thoughts on this, especially since I've just traveled. I took a little vacation for myself to recollect. And uh, on my trips up north, I meet a lot of interesting people. And this concept has been coming into my life throughout the last 3 years, the understanding of it. And the more I go, and now that I went, it's basically more refreshed in my memory. So the concept of collected DNA. I believe that from my perspective, there are two mainstream belief systems as to how do we relate to each other. For example, we tend to think that we are related by bloodlines, right? By ancestry, by DNA, and that I carry within me the DNA of my mother, my grandfather, grandmother, and great grandmother, and then that's that. So another concept, which is a more spiritual concept and esoteric, I would say, is the concept of relating by soul, right? So the soul that travels and enters different bodies throughout different lifetimes, life cycles. I have a certain understanding of that myself, and it kind of combines both. So, you know how every cup of water you drink, there is a drop of water that was drunk by a dinosaur in that cup. And it's just the fact I've been hearing about or reading about in my son's books or some videos. It fascinated me. And it made me think, well, okay, yeah, it totally makes sense because water is recycled, right? We have water runs, then it rises up, creates clouds, and then it falls down with the rain or snow, and the cycle continues, right? We're on this planet, nothing really disappears into nowhere, right? All the matter as we know it, all the energy is simply transferable and kind of recycled, refurbished. So based on that, I am thinking, so does that same thing happen to human DNA? Is it recycled, refurbished, and do we consist of other DNA cells, human, non-human, but since we're under this, let's say, dome, our atmosphere, and nothing can live beyond it, right? Meaning life, physical, or the one we see with our eyes. So then, to me, the way I understand it, that same drop of water is within me, and then it can transfer and it can become grass, or it can become a tree who drank that water, and then that memory, that cell, that DNA is continuously recycling itself, right? And I, when traveling, coming back to the travel, my travels to the Trinity Forest up north, I meet a lot of interesting people there. People that are open and they speak freely about things that some people are uncomfortable talking about. For example, I met a guy, a wonderful guy, and his girlfriend, and he told me, well, I think I was Mozart in the last life, and I feel it. I can feel it, and I know it, and you know, some look at him as like, oh, well, you know, that's. I think we label it as like an imposter syndrome, or well, I think it's not so. I think it is very true, and I'll explain to you how. So, if we are constantly being, our DNA is constantly being recycled, then within me, within my body, within my avatar, let's say, I can potentially have DNA from absolutely anyone in the world, right? So imagine that, for example, right, that each and every one of us has some particle or a little bit of DNA, let's say from Nikola Tesla, right? And many, many more people that successful, not successful, famous, not famous, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is that I think by thinking linear about this, especially all these tests, the DNA tests, right? They tend to confine us. They tend to tell us, well, yeah, we'll find the deeper connection from you to your ancestry and your family, and then you can go several generations, and you kind of going through like your grandma, your this, your DNA cam. I mean, it's very limited, the information you get, but it also kind of stops you from really searching deeper within, because you're going through data. You're going through data. There is you know, your grandma was born here. You have this and such and such in your DNA, and then that's it. When you you know, another person I've met, he's like, oh, I feel royal. I feel this like royal blood running through me, which I think a lot of people feel, because I feel that sometimes. I feel I've heard people, my friends, tell me, oh, I think I was maybe this, you know, maybe like a samurai in my past life, or like some sort of royalty. Like I feel that running, you know, through my blood, through my DNA. I have memory of it, DNA memory, right? Not memory that we can pull up by going to a test, DNA test, and then as I said, you're going through like, okay, well, my grandma was this, and then my great grandma was this, so oh, there is nothing there, and I thought like I can feel it. So I feel like we're looking outward, when in fact all of that is within us. We have that DNA of everyone, right, that's ever lived, recycled DNA, and it's whether we can access that. And some people have they're more free in exploring themselves and actually voicing or believing something bigger, right? They don't confine themselves, and they inspire me to think about these things, because I do feel certain ways at certain times. And I feel that basically there is that 1% or 9% of DNA that we've unlocked, that we know of, and you know, that what makes us us, that's what's different. But then as species, the rest of the DNA that is very similar to each other, I think that's the collected DNA of all the humans ever, all the avatars ever present in life, in the 3D world, kind of stored within us. And it's up to us to say, hey, well, I'm gonna put my Nikola Tesla hat on today and access that information, and or today I want to be a carpenter, you know, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I never even knew I can do this, but I'm kind of good at this. And by trying different things, by opening up to exploring your collected DNA, understanding that everything is already within, it's not outside, and there is no limit, right? To you're not limited by your bloodline as you know it. I think that's kind of like we think about time being linear, going from one point to the other, but in my mind it's all circular, let's put it that way. It is a cycle. Same cycle is happening within the growth of a human body. And you know how when your mom is pregnant, right, and the fetus is growing and she eats certain foods. So imagine like if she's eating a salad, right, and that salad, those leaves contain that water, drank that water that dinosaur once drank. Or again, let's mention Nikola Tesla once drank, right? And that went through his body, collected information, now it got stored there, and now she ate it, and you physically grew, and all of that memory is already in the DNA. So I think that all these people that I meet that are openly talking about feeling, going through an awakening process, remembering past lives, feeling relatable to certain particular famous figures in human history. And I meet those people all the time. I see people that feel like, oh, they're Jesus, or they feel like somebody is more relatable to Mozart, or to certain scientists, certain writers, certain like Plato. I feel like they have something there. And in modern psychology, I think we label those things, right? There is it's all kind of has a little bit of a negative connotation in my mind. For example, the imposter syndrome, right? Or we call things like having an imaginary friend, or split personality disorder, or like, she or he is lost. They don't know who they are, or they don't know their way, because they're trying this and that and that and that, and it's not, they can't find themselves, right? They must be lost. But I think that imaginary friend, that conversation, all of those feelings that come through, I think that they are our DNA, collected DNA, communicating with each other, kind of having a fight, who's gonna come forward. So which hat are you gonna put on today? Which personality more fits you? Which DNA are you going to, memory, let's say, of the DNA, are you going to bring to the forefront of your daily life? And I think, let me go a little bit into my notes, because there were a lot of them. But I think that let's see. And I was right now specifically talking about the body, the physical body, and where does the soul, right, come into all of that, if we're speaking from that perspective. So I think that we have our bloodline and basically humanity as one, that is constantly transfers, recycles, collects, refurbishes, comes back to life, dies, comes back to life. And because matter, right, it doesn't, it dies, but it goes somewhere else, and then it comes back to life in maybe different form, or but the memory is there. The memory, maybe the grass outside has a memory of humans. We don't know that, right? It's a possibility. Maybe it has a thought process or some sort of feelings. So that when that applies to the physical matter that we call physical. Now, as far as the soul, so where does the soul comes into all of that? Well, I think there's also soul families, and the soul families are specifically assigned different bloodlines, and that is good for the diversification, right? And getting to know the world, understand the entire world, the universe as we know it, through walking in different shoes. For example, and this is something that I'm going to take actually from my book that I've been writing notes to for about 3 years now. I think it's time to put them together, or maybe I'm just not ready yet. But I wrote, imagine the train, the sound of which fascinates you so much. And there's a chance that once you've put those tracks, right, all across the country. And the reason I'm saying this is because on my trip, on the way there, it's a 10-hour trip, it's a 10-hour drive, and I was listening to the history of Romanov family. I'm fascinated with them, and so it kind of made me think, connecting different scenarios together. So I don't remember whether it was Alexander or Nikolai who put all the train tracks. So they tried to connect, different cities within the country, and they did a tremendous job to open up travel, laying thousands of miles of train tracks. Now, at the same time, they were constantly targeted, right, by the people, and one of them had 7 attempts where somebody tried to kill him and the family, and on the 8th they succeeded. And coming back to the point, I thought, okay, well, I understand where that emperor was trying to do the right thing, but why were the people against him? And then I thought, maybe that's the reason we're here, and this is how we travel, how we understand the world. So imagine one life, you are the emperor, right, who makes that expansion for the entire country, let's say of Russia, right? The big, huge Russia connects every city with the train tracks, and builds all this new form of transportation. Now, in the next life, imagine that the soul, right, for not understanding somebody else's side, and since I feel like we're here to learn, it actually, let's imagine it becomes your next life cycle. You are the miner, meaning the coal miner, right? And you're there, and you're in the cave, and you're constantly mining for coal, and your life is hard and you don't understand why this is happening, and all you keep thinking is, well, this, Tsar and his bloodline and his entire family, why do they need to do all this? And they should better concentrate on the laws of human labor and paying us more money. Instead, they're being these trying to be great and spending money and time on trying to lay something, these tracks that are not needed for my travel, because I won't even be able, for example, to afford a ticket on one of these trains. So he is there and looking from the same thing, right? Maybe it's the Tsar who or the emperor who actually laid those tracks, and then in the next lifetime he becomes this miner and is targeting the imperial family because they don't see why they are doing what they're doing. So I think that this is how the soul travels through life, learning lessons and perspectives from things that we don't understand, right? Because a lot of times it's easy to judge, right? The other side, say, well, the government is wrong, or for the government to be like, well, they're not educated, or this. So I feel like it's a constant transfer of shoes that we're and then one day, for example, you get to travel on that train. And I remember myself as a little girl, before coming to United States and getting my visa, and my mom came here way before I did, and took her a long time to get me here. I didn't see her for many years, and I remember me and my grandma, we were we didn't have that much money, so we couldn't go to Poland, Warsaw, where the consulate was, and we had to go a lot, so we couldn't fly there all the time, or I mean, we didn't fly there at all, but we had to be very careful with money, and we would take a train to get there, and I would lay there, and I was so thankful that somebody came up with this idea of a train and that we can travel. And yes, it does take hours, but it's so fascinating to be laying on the top bed, and just I used to look out the window and watch the cities, the little country sides pass by me, and people doing their things, and I was even then sitting there and riding the train and thinking, wow, like whoever came up with this idea is amazing, and it's affordable means of travel, right? So I gave him props. And then another thing that kind of that is also included in the chapter of the book is so imagine if all of those stories are connected, if it's one soul traveling through the creation of something, then the not understanding of that creation, looking from the other side, and then understanding it again from the different side, like for example being a girl and being able to take a train and to travel somewhere to get something important. And I had to travel back and forth because they kept denying me. So I don't know, I think 7 or 8 times we had to go and wait in the waiting room, and so nervous. And every time I remember, I hope today is going to be the day, and it was not. And but there was the ride. I enjoyed the ride, the getting there part, and the hope kind of inside. And then another thing happened to me, with life getting getting so busy with life, pretty much, and the kids and work and everything else. To come back to the beginning of this conversation, I travel, right? I travel up north, and On one of these trips, we rented a house with my mom and my kids, and I was so tired. I was, exhausted from the ride, and just the kids, and they're young and they're screaming, and everybody needs something, and I'm constantly on the go, constantly on the go. My mind is constantly working, my body is constantly working, and then I went upstairs when everybody fell asleep, and I laid down, and the window was open, and I laid down on my bed, and the window was open, and I relaxed, and all of a sudden I hear doo doo, and there is a train track right there, and I kid you not, I started having this, I felt accessing memories. I started getting chills all over my body, and I said, the train. I remember that sound. That sound is so familiar to me. And I've always been fascinated with taking pictures of trains, and just something, it feels so familiar in a way. And I can say that it does not stop from me taking the train as a little girl. There is a deeper memory within me that's connected to that sound, to the sound of the wheels, to the sound of the choo-choo, I don't know, the horn, and the way it looks. And I'm fascinated with the way the engines are built. And, I feel like that is the connection between the soul traveling through different stories, and also our bodies containing within them collected DNA, collected memories from all these different walks of life and all these different people. And we, instead of limiting ourselves and saying, well, this is, let's say, I'm supposed to relieve, and I'm supposed to relate to like my family only. I think we're all related in that way. And the soul travel, the traveling through the soul family being separated and put further away, kind of creates that yearning within to find those people that you can relate to on a like deep cellular level, or soul level, or both for that matter. So this concept of collected memories within us, I am so interested in what you guys think, guys and girls think about it, and I can't wait for tonight's conversation about it, or maybe something else if you guys wish. All right, good talking to you. I don't know how to finish up. I'll work on that. Okay, bye.